modern day iPad. With an orchestra, you are building citizens, better citizens for the community. These are the words of Gustavo Dudamel, and for those of you who don't know, is the energizing Venezuelan conductor of the Los Angeles Philharmonic. And his words resonate with my sense of what it means to be committed to building community, which is what I wanted to talk a little bit about today in terms of my own background. The kind of tangible and intangible components, both of which I think are integral to vibrancy and our quality of life. I actually have a bit of an unusual history that probably would have made it difficult for anyone kind of to try to determine what kind of community I might be a part of. I was born in 1970 on, of all days, September 11th, to an unwed white Irish Catholic mother and African-American Jehovah's Witness father in a small village outside of Monticello, New York. And I was immediately given up for adoption. So there really was not really a sense of what my future might be, especially possibly popping from foster home to foster home before my adoption was finalized. Unfortunately, interracial marriage was actually still illegal in several states, and so given society and other pressures, that's why my mother was forced to give me up for adoption. I was then adopted at the age of 2 weeks by a white Jewish couple who were in New York City, who were originally from Chicago, and they were professors in neuro and behavioral science at Rockefeller University. They also already had a biological son, my older brother, who's currently a professor of microbiology at Columbia University. So by the age of 13, curiosity had taken hold, and I began what was to become an almost 2-decade-long journey in search of my birth parents. And for those of you who don't know, it's very difficult to find your birth parents, and most laws make it almost impossible. So it's all the more surprising than when, after my fruitless efforts, I was reunited with them about 14 years ago through, of all things, modern day, a website, adoption.com. Not only were my parents together, but I found out that they had eventually married and had another child, my full sister. And we've since had the most amazing relationship, which led to my sister being able to attend my alma mater, the University of Michigan, and then she went on to get her law degree from Albany Law and is now practicing law in New York City, focusing on underserved youth who don't have the resources, and their families don't have the resources to be able to provide proper assistance in the legal justice system. So people sometimes ask me why I work in this field of diversity and inclusion, why I've dedicated my life to those pursuits, and I have an easy answer. I'm a black, white, Jewish, Irish Catholic Jehovah's Witness who used to have a big afro, played the violin. There's no doubt this is what I'm gonna do. So to kind of get back to educational musical development, when I was 5 years old, my mother, my adoptive mother, who was an amateur violinist, she kind of became remotivated to play, and her playing inspired me to be able to start. And I was very, very lucky early on to have one of the best teachers, Vladimir Grafman, who brought the Russian school of teaching over to the United States. Taught the likes of Joseph Gingold and others, who taught Joshua Bell and many of our key soloists these days. So when I was 10 years old and moved from Manhattan, right, one of the world's great metropolises, to Hershey, Pennsylvania, which at the time had one black family and me. So you can imagine, 10 years old, big afro, played the violin, white parents, people like, who are you, what are you? White brother in the school. It was very difficult. And of course I was ostracized, and it really built this sense of my music in me that has stayed with me all these years. And so after beginning my studies in New York, I continued. I went on Saturdays. I took the bus down to Peabody in Baltimore, went to the Peabody Prep, and served as concertmaster of the Harrisburg Youth Symphony. I then spent my junior and senior years of high school at the Interlochen Arts Academy in Michigan, which really saved my life. Because of the ostracization, I really had a tough rebellion period, and the greatest constant in my life was my violin and was my music, was my ability to be able to project the experiences that I had through the arts. And it was interesting enough that after then initially starting at Penn State, where I was concertmaster of the Penn State Philharmonic, and then continuing on to the University of Michigan, where I ultimately got my degrees, my bachelor's and my master's degrees, I never knew there were any black composers. So I literally went into a lesson one day, and my teacher said, would you like to play some music by black composers? And I was actually a little put off. I was like, you mean jazz or so? Like, I'm a serious violinist. Why would you want me to play? And I kind of was a little bit put out, and he kind of smiled, and he goes over and he starts pulling these volumes of works off of his shelf. And it opened my mind up to Joseph Boulon St. George, an Afro-French contemporary of Mozart's, or David Baker, Coleridge Taylor Perkinson. Literally just numerous composers whose contributions to the classical music repertoire have been incredible. And so I ended up focusing on those composers during my undergraduate and graduate studies. And it was within that context, combined with whenever I would go to orchestra concerts and not see anyone of color on stage or in the audience, most importantly, that I started thinking about whether there was something that I could do that could affect the accessibility of this art form that had literally defined my life, and without which I think I would not even still have been alive at that point. And so I literally came into a lesson one day with my teacher, Steve Ships, and I said, I've got this idea. And it was also around this time that I began to reflect on all this feedback that I got growing up about playing the violin. And instead of it kind of contributing to my cultural background or heritage, often when people said, oh, you're a violinist, they would seek to separate me from especially my African-American heritage, because that just doesn't fit classical music, being black, being urban hip, those aren't supposed to somehow be synonymous. And that ended up leading to me authoring the title poem from my book of poetry that I wanted to share with you before we get into a short video that will show you the work that we do at Sphinx. And it's entitled, They Said I Wasn't Really Black. Born from white and brown young skins, I was so different from the pack. Adopted by Caucasians at just 2 weeks of age, they couldn't have known about the other people. They said I wasn't really black. A violinist I was destined for. Early on, I showed them the knack. It was Mozart for me and Beethoven too. I never got to memorize Jackson 5 lyrics, so they said I wasn't really black. School bells and cafeteria food, I sat there with my brown lunch sack. There was no fried chicken in my Ziploc bag, no confrontation between watermelon and black-eyed peas. They said I wasn't really black. I'd stroll into the rehearsal room wishing I was the Daddy Mac. I didn't even go to the games, let alone sport the jersey. Hell, I wasn't even in the band, and I wonder why they said I wasn't really black. I didn't talk the talk and couldn't walk the walk. Familial precedent I did lack. At first it seemed correct by design. It took me years till I was uncomfortable when they said I wasn't really black. There were those who made me feel different and a few who I thought had my back. I could have taken all the racial slurs if only it wasn't my friends around when they said I wasn't really black. All I sought was acceptance. Any click shell I could not crack. They feared the anomaly. Too bad for me that I got good grades, couldn't play spades because they said I wasn't really black. And then it settled down on me, waiting unease upon my back. Like the line and rhyme of these words I write, I had only just begun to fight when they said I wasn't really black. The first African queen I was to know drew me in like the sweet lilac. She shut those doors, supposedly wanted more, but I knew the reason behind because they said I wasn't really black. For a time I had an afro. It should have got me on the track. Foolish me to think they'd see what I wanted to be. Why did they all have to agree? My skin was just a racial ghee. Hopelessly, eventually, they said I wasn't really black. I'm glad I found out that they were wrong. I ain't born in Uncle Tom's shack. I guess they wish the color was not what it is, but what they wanted it to be when they said I wasn't really black. I've come to terms with what I cannot fight. I yearn no longer to attack. The title I sought without emerged from within. There was serenity and complacency while impervious to chagrin when they said I wasn't really black. Every moment I burst with pride. I toss a memory in my sack. Their jibes ebb like the tide as I open the floodgates wide. It was quite a ride. Over now, save the rare aside. I wish I wouldn't have cried. I kind of hope they lied when they said I wasn't really black. So today, I wanted to give you a snapshot of my story, building the Sphinx community. And we're about to go to a short video which will tell the story from the perspective of one of our young students who, after winning Sphinx, went on to study with Itzhak Perlman, and just recently this year entered the Juilliard School. And immediately following the video, as it was mentioned, one of our artists, Eric Thompson, will share a brief performance. After becoming a Sphinx laureate, Eric went on to graduate from the prestigious Curtis Institute of Music, solo with the Atlanta Symphony, serve as both a member of the Sphinx Symphony and Sphinx Virtuosi, and now has joined the faculty of the University of North Carolina right here in Charlotte. And as you view our work through the video and experience the impact of our programming through Eric's performance, keep in mind that when Sphinx was founded, Blacks and Latinos combined represented less than 1.5% of orchestras in America. Those numbers have now doubled as of today. And in every single major orchestra where there has been an increase in its Black representation, the new members are Sphinx alumni, or the orchestra is a partner of the Sphinx Organization. Performances by classical artists of color were rare when Sphinx was founded. They now take place with more than 30 orchestras every single year. Millions hear the broadcasts of our laureate performances, and our chamber orchestra, the Sphinx Virtuosi, have reached over 80,000 in audiences through their annual tours to more than 60 cities and 30 states, including right here in Charlotte, with major, major thanks to the Knight Foundation, who's made so much of our work possible. The newest principal players of the New York Philharmonic and the Detroit Symphony Orchestras are African American, and they are Sphinx alumni. The work being done here in Charlotte that this conference is framing and that will continue through 2025 and beyond will transform lives. Make no mistake about it. The creativity and innovation that you bring to your daily work can change a life. It can change a community. It can change an industry, and it can change the world. And I encourage all of you to join us in the work of building communities while empowering innovation and social impact through the power of the arts. Thank you so much, and now I hope you enjoy the story of Sphinx. Thank you.
I may be only 15 years old, but already the Sphinx Organization has changed my life. I'm Randall Gooseby, and I was fortunate to be the 2010 Junior Division First Place Laureate of the annual Sphinx competition.
In literally all of the musical environments that I found myself in, from starting the violin at the age of 5, all the way up through working on my degrees at the University of Michigan, I was the only minority, or maybe one of less than a handful. In addition, anytime I'd go to an orchestra concert, I'd look on stage, I'd look around me in the audience, and wonder, why is there no one who looks like me?
That all began to change when Aaron created the Sphinx Organization in 1997. At that time, only about 1.5% of orchestras were Black or Latino. Today, thanks to Sphinx, that number has more than doubled. The earliest alums grew out of the first Sphinx competition, the flagship event of the Sphinx Organization.
The level of talent is wonderfully high, and I've heard some first-class young players who are destined to go far in the field.
They are accompanied by the remarkable Sphinx Symphony Orchestra, the first and only professional Black and Latino orchestra in the world. Sphinx supports its participants in many ways.
Our artists have gone on to bring incredible contributions to our field. Every year in our nation's capital, we celebrate extraordinary musicians of color with the highest honor that Sphinx bestows, our Medals of Excellence.
Laureates perform as soloists with major orchestras, and through the creation of new and exciting chamber ensembles, Sphinx is introducing its talented alumni to the world.
And let your ear be your guide. I think the Sphinx Organization is so incredibly important. What I love about this organization is that it tries to achieve in our society an equilibrium of people who are incredibly talented and motivated to be part of every aspect of our society, including musical society. Talent does not pick demographics.
We've been able to have a tremendous impact here in the United States. And as we looked at some of the opportunities for our artists, we began to even look across the seas and abroad.
Sphinx UK is Southbank Centre's first international partner. As we've looked abroad at various potential partners, it all comes down to 3 or 4 great projects around the world, of which Sphinx is one.
This kind of change starts with education, a critical part of everything Sphinx does.
So many studies really advocate for arts education, music education in school because of the positive effect that it has on academic achievement and scholastic aptitude. The arts are great for them. They spark intellectual curiosity and they spark creativity. With that in mind, Sphinx has created Sphinx Stars, a competition to showcase Detroit's greatest talents in all musical genres and cultural backgrounds.
The Sphinx Overture program introduces young people in underserved communities to violin performance. Instrument usage and lessons are provided free of charge. Helping to further those dreams, the Sphinx Performance Academy provides an intensive summer education program at Sphinx partner institutions in Chicago and in Ohio.
The Sphinx Performance Academy is a tuition-free summer music program for minority youth aged 12 to 17. They get instruction in private lessons and quartet playing, and it culminates in a final concert on the last day of each program.
Sphinx is more than just an organization promoting minorities in classical music. It's a movement, one being recognized by media outlets around the world. From the halls of the White House, where Sphinx founder Aaron Dworkin recently became President Barack Obama's appointee to the National Council on the Arts, to Sphinx laureate performances and partnerships abroad, the Sphinx Organization is being noticed.
In our first 15 years, we've been able to literally transform the lives of tens of thousands. And now, Sphinx Con is bringing together global leaders from across the performing arts sector and beyond as we empower ideas for diversity in the arts. But there is tremendous work that still needs to be done.
I'm just in awe of what Sphinx has accomplished, but even more excited about its future.
I am Sphinx.
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 I am Sphinx.